Hello everyone, welcome to the Mecaniquesportive channel. This is Nicola, and today I'm presenting this new CAPTUR to you. And what's more, today we have it in the hybrid version. So on the channel, we're trying out more and more hybrid versions. As you know, for me, I really think the future is the best compromise rather than electric or fully thermal. We're going to take a quick look at the exterior, the interior, and then go for a drive from the city to the highway. That will provide a full review of the vehicle and we'll see results immediately. All right, let's go. So we'll start with the front. So we have these new headlights, which are really the new style from Renault. And you can also find them on the Clio. Really? With this drop here, we have headlights, of course. Full LED now on cars that are starting to be mid-range, high-end. We're getting full LED. And here we have this daytime running light at the front that gives it this look. So a little bit this comma here with this little notch that gives it a really nice style. Next, we have this long chrome line here that really goes all the way around and really makes the car look wider. I think it's really nice. And it's something we see a lot now at Renault, across the whole range, even at Dacia. We really have hoods that are nicely curved and sculpted, which really give the car a beautiful design, and I think that's really nice. On top of that, with this blue, it's stunning. So this two-tone blue and silver on the roof, I think it's really nice. Especially with the roof, we have matching detail on the side skirt protection, which is quite cute. Next, we have these small grills here that let air in underneath. Here we have the radar that gives us information about the vehicle in front, so we'll see that inside. A small feature that I think isn't really very useful on this vehicle, but we'll talk about it. We have the small radars that are hidden here, the camera that's here, since we have the 360-degree camera package and parking assistance. No side fog lights, as shown here. We have these small grills, so that let air through, and that exhaust on the other side near the wheels with small chrome accents that look really nice, I think. So for me, this vehicle really has a very cute look. It's quite attractive and suits both men and women. And as for the headlights too, you can see on the side, there are also little claws that are really nice and a really well-designed detail in the headlight. On the side, so we'll start with this little trim piece here, which is really just there to look nice. As I was saying, you can see a little bit on the headlights here, these little lines that are quite nice. Here, the plastic wheel arch trim gives it a slightly modern look and makes it look a bit wider. Because when it's painted, it looks a little different. And it's still an SUV, so SUVs often have plastic arches, which gives them a bit more of an adventurous look. We have nice 18-inch rims. I think they're really cool. They're pretty good looking. With the Renault logo here, surrounded by a blue circle. Since it's a hybrid model, on the side you can see we have this part, two tones, so the blue here, the gray, which is the same color as the roof, which makes a nice little touch, and especially with the wheels, we have this gray here, we have it there, it creates a lot of little reminders, like on the front bumpers. I find that really nice. The handles, we have fridge-type handles, there you go. So the doors. On the mirror, we have the indicator here, the lower part of the door here, all in plastic. Well, it doesn't necessarily look very high-end, but it finishes nicely with the little chrome strip here. At the back, we have the same lines as we had at the front on the headlights. So these little lines in the lights. And we have a flap on this side, and there will be another one on the other side. On this side, you can open it without having to pull anything inside the vehicle or operate anything. We have the plug here to charge the vehicle. You can charge it at home or a charging station. At a regular charging station, it takes between 1.5 and 3 hours, depending on the station's power. At home, it will really take a full night, about 8 to 10 hours easily. On the side, you'll find the E-Tech plug-in hybrid badge. We have it on the other side, the back, and here, 3 reminders. On the side now, you can really see all these flowing lines that end here on this little quarter window. It's pretty nice, so with the black pillars, which is becoming more and more common, it really does make it look better. And it's the same with the chrome line, it's just along the bottom here, and it really makes nice touches. As for the bodywork, on the side, it's simple, smooth lines. It's not aggressive. That's not at all what we expect from this vehicle. Here, we're asking for elegance, and I think it delivers. In terms of dimensions, it's 4 meters 23 long, 1 meter 80 wide, and 1 meter 57 high. It's a cute little thing, but it still slips through easily when empty. On the back of the vehicle, here we have the small shark fin style antenna. There, the spoiler, which includes the rear light, so the third brake light here. We have tinted windows, which is becoming more and more common now on vehicles at the back, and that's really convenient. because in the summer at least, the passengers and the interior of the cabin are a little less hot. Plus, it offers more privacy. The headlights, like in the front, feature a large design right here. Always on the sides, these little lines with a nice headlight design. At the back, right in the middle, we have the Renault logo with the backup camera integrated here. Below, it reminds us that we're looking at a Captur. And here, the little E-Tech plug-in hybrid badge. Trunk opening, this version doesn't open automatically. In the back, there's 265 liters of trunk space, which isn't much, but we can move forward. The rear bench offers 379 liters, expanding to 1,118 liters when folded down. Since this is a hybrid, we get an extra 40 liters of cargo space underneath. You can store the triangle, the safety vest, and the charging cables in that spot. And on the right, you have your small compressor and your tire sealant. You'll also find the parking sensors and the fog light right here on the bumper. We'll also have this plastic part at the back here, which gives a bit of an aluminum effect and also gives the vehicle a slightly more rugged look, and it will match the roof on this version. And on this side, we'll have the fuel cap here, which you'll need to unlock from the dashboard to open. So under the hood, we'll have the small gasoline engine on this side, and on the right, all the electrical components. We have a vehicle with 160 horsepower. We'll see how it performs in full electric and gasoline modes. There are several modes, but what you need to know is that this vehicle will always keep a small reserve of electricity to restart the vehicle at takeoff, even when it shows that the battery is empty. Each time we brake, we'll recharge enough to restart the vehicle. Inside at the gearbox level, you can't select the engaged gear, but we'll see that while driving. So here we are on board this Captur, this new Captur. When you get in, what you see is that it's really modern. They've really made an effort with the design. We have this nice screen here, which is touch sensitive and pretty intuitive. So we have a home menu with quite a few options, and then we can turn it on and off. Below that, there are a few buttons here. So with it, the first one is the electric vehicle mode. The electric vehicle mode lets you choose the driving configuration you want. So we have the pure mode. The pure mode is really the one you'll use every day, especially if you drive in the city. It will really be the most suitable for saving energy and will mainly use the electric mode of this vehicle. Next, we have the sport mode. So when I click on the sport mode, I get a display here. And the screen behind me changes. So this screen behind me, I haven't figured out how to set it up. You can only choose between pure mode or sport mode. There aren't several setup options. And then that's the only thing that will change in the back. It just moves a little bit and it adds a bit of red. Depending on the settings, you can also switch doors and other areas to red mode. And the last one is the My Sense mode. So you see the screen changing again. And this time, you can set everything up. And we also have the e-save mode that you can use on this vehicle. The e-save mode basically is to allow you to save battery. If you arrive in the city or are already there and want to save battery. Later, activating e-save mode makes the car primarily use the combustion engine. What you need to know is that no matter which mode you use on this car, in any case, when you stop, the start and stop system is automatic. Every time the car restarts, no matter the mode, My Sense, Sport, or others, it always uses electric power. Next, here's what we have. Of course, we have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You know, it's really become standard on almost all vehicles. Below is the climate control unit, letting you adjust fan speed on the left and temperature in the center. On the right, choose where you want the airflow directed. Just below, we have a 12-volt socket here. To its right, there's a cable that you can connect with a 3.5mm jack to play your music through the auxiliary input, and two USB ports that will allow Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, or just charging. Here, there's a spot where you can put your phone or something else. This little selector here. When you start the vehicle, available modes appear here in white. So we have reverse mode neutral, drive, and B. So with D and B, there are two modes that are next to each other. You activate them like this. Select D or B. B mode is the brake mode, which regenerates energy. I highly recommend using it whenever possible. In any case, with a hybrid vehicle, it's really ideal since it recharges the battery every time you slow down. And secondly, you'll use the brakes much less. The brake mode really regenerates with the electric motor and it slows you down if you know how to anticipate. And what's really the most important thing with a hybrid is anticipation. You learn to anticipate. And there, you will hardly ever use your brake pads except to come to a stop. And when stopped, we also have the little auto hold button here. So that means when you brake, the vehicle stops, you release the brake pedal, and the vehicle will stay stopped, whether you're on a slope, on flat ground, or anywhere else. And that's a good thing, because it prevents you from having to keep your foot on the brake all the time. Here next to us, we have the handbrake, which is electric. Then, while we're in this area, we have this little armrest here, which slides. But what bothers me is that I have long arms. Look, I can't reach the steering wheel. Even though I'm pulled all the way back, that's a bit of a shame. Something that could have come back further would have been practical, so I could really hold the steering wheel with both hands on the armrests. It's a small detail. Below, we have 2 cup holder compartments with little clips that hold them in place. If you put a can in, it won't move. And here, you have a specific compartment to put the key. And here's what the key looks like. It's beautiful. I love it in white. So there are several modes on the key. Opening and closing, of course, for the vehicle. The light to turn on the daytime running lights. The trunk to unlock just the trunk. This spot works well, but you can also keep it in your pocket since the vehicle has keyless access. Underneath, here you have another storage space, so it's accessible when it's put away, but on the other hand, when you're like this, you see you don't really have access. It's not super practical. If you drive high enough, you might not really have access to it. And this area is lit at night, like this spot here on both sides of the doors. And this spot, you can choose from about 10 colors. When you get to the steering wheel, here we have a nice leather steering wheel that's pretty soft and pleasant. And there are 3 ways to set it up in certain modes. You can choose comfort mode for more assistance, normal mode, or sport mode for increased steering feedback. That's actually pretty good. On the right, we have the controls here to navigate through the few menus at the back of the screen. You can pick up the phone. And on the left, you have the controls for the cruise control, so we have a speed limiter. This model doesn't have the adaptive feature. So regarding that, at the front, I mentioned the small position sensor in relation to the vehicle ahead. The screen shows the vehicle ahead is 0.8 or 0.5 seconds away. To give you an idea of the reaction time you'll need and the distance covered between you and the other vehicle. So I didn't find that necessarily useful, but I really thought it was a shame that we don't have the adaptive cruise control, especially since the vehicle can detect the distance between me and the car ahead. In the back here, we have the options for volume, sound, and modes. As I said, you can connect phones, use Bluetooth, and select modes and sources. Windshield wipers are on the right, headlights on the left. These LED projectors have automatic headlights. Once in auto mode, day or night, on a small road, it will switch to high beams automatically when possible. And in regular low beam mode, when you pass other people, on the left, we have the lane keeping assistant, or just the lane departure warning detector. We have controls to adjust the dashboard lighting and the headlight height here, and the small buttons for the fuel door. On the other side is the start engine button. To start, press the brake and start like this. I love this sound every time. Even when you get into the vehicle, it does it for you, so it's fun. We have soft touch plastic here all along, here too, and here as well. Here, we have this little white part. So it looks like some kind of plastic fabric, but it's soft, it's flexible, it's nice, which goes all the way to the end. And then underneath, here we have hard plastics. What's also very nice is this part, which is made with the same plastic fabric. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very pleasant to touch. And it means that when you rest your leg on this side, it's not hard plastic. And that's a good thing. To my left, on my door, I have my mirrors, the adjustment. I can also fold them here, and I have all 4 windows with one-touch control. That's a good thing. Very handy, too. Above me, the simple rear view mirror, my 2 little reading lights, which are pretty nice, the SOS button, and that's about it for the front. The seats really hold you very well. So here we have the intense trim, and this fabric is really very pleasant. So it's a bit rough, and it really grips well, so you won't slide around in the seat when you're cornering. And it comes up quite well here. That's a good thing. Same for the thigh area. You're well supported. The headrest, which is a bit stylish here, the glove box is right here. So what's pretty funny is that when you open it, it opens slowly. If you want to open it quickly, it pops up and still opens slowly. On the other hand, it's quite deep, so you can put large water bottles in it. So the back seats are pretty easy to access. The entry's quite high, which is a good thing. So I'm 1 meter 80, and when I'm sitting comfortably, my head doesn't touch up there. But on the other hand, this part here gets really close to my temples. It's not very comfortable since the vehicle feels like a house, as if we've turned the attic into living space. We also have space on the roof, and our position there could improve things. But when the seats are pushed all the way back, I have this pillar here that falls right in the corner of my eye. Not necessarily the most comfortable spot. It will be a bit better for children who are a little lower and have better visibility through the window. So we have several seats here. So we have the seat belt here. For the third person who is included in the bench seat, this spot here, how is it? Well, it's pretty comfortable. Well padded for the back. It's the same. Yeah, we're good. We're pretty well seated here and on the sides. So here I have the seat adjusted for me in the front, so I'm 6 feet tall, like I told you. Here I really have room, space. I can even put my feet under the seat since the seat is high enough. That's a good thing. In the back, we have 2 small separate air vents for the passengers. We have 2 USB ports and we have a 12-volt socket here. The small nets inside, small storage in the pockets, but it's hard plastic all along the door, except for my small armrest made of the same white material as the front, and a filter that I can adjust here. In this car, you can adjust the seat position. So look, it really goes up very close. Up to here, it's so tight I can just fit 2 fingers through. Just enough to adjust to move the seat forward or backward. But it moves back really easily. You can move it forward or backward, and so it really changes the trunk's loading capacity a lot. Of course, you can fold down the seats. So we have a little lever here, so it's a 2/3, 1/3 split. It gives us a flat floor all the way to the trunk's back. We have the top tether here, so for baby seats. We have the ISOFIX mounts on this side, and I think we also have the ISOFIX mounts and the top tether here for the front seat. You can fit 3 baby seats in this car, 2 in the back and 1 in the front. Nice little touch. A small cover here to hide the ISOFIX mounts. That's something I really like a lot rather than having those big plastic pieces. It's a small detail, but it matters to me. So here we are on board this new Capture hybrid. So we're going to do a test. As I was saying, we'll try it in the city, on the road, and on the highway to see how it performs. So we're going to test the electric range and see everything we can do. All right, let's go. So seatbelt on, foot on the brake. I'm starting the car. I've got lots of little beeps, and all I have to do now is pull here to switch to drive or B. So I put it in B. Like I was saying, it's more convenient. So now I'm in B mode. All right, here we go. The handbrake releases automatically. I just accelerate. There we go. We're starting off calmly. So Renault has this specific sound that you can hear, which you also hear on the Zoe and so on, to warn that a vehicle is coming since an electric vehicle is really very quiet in the city. As soon as I release, it brakes. So here, up to about 10 kilometers per hour. Then I press the brake, and now I have auto hold activated. For example, here, I release the brake. The car doesn't move forward, and that's really convenient in traffic. To activate it, you need to press the brake for about a second. And then you can stay as long as you want until you accelerate again. The turn signal, here's the sound. It's the first time I've seen that option in the menus. To adjust the intensity of the turn signal sound. Now, that's great. Here, I set it to the lowest because I find it pretty annoying to hear the tick, 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 tick the whole time. Still, this one is much nicer than some brands. I've already driven a little bit in electric mode. And now it's winter, it's cold. So in electric mode, it's certain that you'll drive a bit less distance, since you need a bit more battery to heat up the inside of the vehicle. The little tip is to always heat up the vehicle while it's plugged in and charging, and you can program that. Once the vehicle is warm, keeping it warm will be much easier than having to heat it up from the start, especially in winter, if you have to defrost and so on. What I noticed in winter is that I drove about 40 kilometers fully electric, mixing city driving in Paris, a bit of road, and some highway at 110. So we're going to try while we're in the city, parking, because we have parking assistance. So I'm going to activate my little button here, which shows me the way I want to park. So parallel, perpendicular, angled, or pulling out. So here I'll choose, for example, I want to park parallel. So select the turn signal. So here I turn on my left turn signal and the car should normally be able to find me a spot. So here it's telling me that it has found a parking spot. Okay, stop, I'm stopping. Engage reverse gear. It makes a lot of noise. Back up. Okay, backing up. So I'm not touching the steering wheel at all, of course. But I'm the one controlling the accelerator and brakes. For example, the Mercedes handled everything itself. Okay, engage forward gear. It's really close now, just a few millimeters away. There, that's it. Stop, reverse gear, and so I'm backing up. I'm still the one handling everything. There we go. Well, the car parked itself. Very convenient. A great thing about electric cars is they provide plenty of torque. And when you want to start again, it's especially the 0 to 50 that happens pretty quickly. You can use only one pedal in traffic jams that frequently slow down and speed up, which is very convenient. However, you'll need to press the brake to stop because there's no adaptive cruise control. As for the steering, the vehicle is quite precise. As I was saying, there are several ways to choose the steering, from softer to harder, on 3 levels. That's a good thing. And the steering isn't too assisted. There are some vehicles where you can really steer with just your fingertip. Here, you have to use a little force, so you either like it or you don't. When I say you need a little force, it's really minimal. You can steer it with your fingertips, but it's not extremely assisted, and that's a good thing, because you get a better feel for the steering. Renault claims about 60 kilometers in the city. I think you can get close to that, at least 50 pretty easily, if you only drive in the city and you don't use the heater like today. So when it's below 15 degrees, I have to admit, that's when it gets a bit more difficult for the vehicle, especially if you drive for a long time. What you really need to keep in mind is to recover as much energy as possible and anticipate. Don't accelerate too hard, don't brake too hard. Anticipation really is the key word. And, well, I like to set myself little challenges. For example, if the car says 40 kilometers, I actually try to reach that distance instead of giving up. It's at 32. Well, I've used up the whole battery. We have 3 modes to choose from. I've used the pure mode so far. We also have the sport mode. The sport mode, which changes the display here in the center. And we have this little logo here, as if the Capture was on a racetrack. And this time, it will also start the combustion engine. So we'll have the combined power of both engines. And here, you can feel there's a lot more power and it's much more responsive. If I accelerate, it's slipping a bit, so the ground is a little slick. You have to be careful because an electric vehicle combined with a combustion engine gives you a lot of power and a lot of torque. So here, the combustion engine is still engaged, but as soon as I let off, I'm in B mode. It cuts off the combustion engine and recovers energy thanks to the wheels recharging the batteries. And as soon as you accelerate, the engine turns back on. Honestly, it accelerates well. As I said, we have good seat support in turns and don't move much. That's a really good thing. And now we're going to take a little drive on the highway. We'll see how the soundproofing is and what it's like. Here we go. Acceleration-wise, no problem. So to handle it, it really accelerates. In sport mode anyway, you quickly reach the speed limit. So I've got my cruise control. We're going to set it to 90. So now we're in sport mode. The soundproofing isn't too bad. You can hear a little bit of wind noise, but the small engine, since it's such a tiny engine, you can really hear it quite a lot. We're in sport mode now. I'll switch to my sense mode. Now, for example, I'm back in electric mode, since I activated my sense mode, which prioritizes electric mode. And I can choose at any time, for example with the e-save, to reactivate the combustion engine. And at that point, it will preserve my energy so I can drive in electric mode later in the city. When I'm in combustion mode, the gauge at the bottom of the dashboard will be displayed in gray. And when I switch back to electric mode, the gauge turns green. And then, for example, in my sense mode, there's a part in green, and then the rest of the gauge will be in gray. You can combine them so that pressing hard on the accelerator engages both engines, similar to sport mode. So when you're on big roads like this, unless you know you'll be able to recharge in the evening. But if you have a long trip to make, like crossing France, for example, on the highway, you can switch to combustion engine mode. And when you get back to the city, you can switch back to electric mode. Consume as little as possible, since steady speed on the road uses the least fuel. In any case, on a gasoline engines. In this vehicle, every time you accelerate again, no matter the mode, even if you're in electricity saving mode, the energy it recovered during braking to stop at the light will be instantly reused when you start up again, to also help preserve your gas tank, since it's usually at startup that we consume the most. One small thing, on this car, there's no gearbox where you can select the engaged gear. I just have drive mode and B mode. And what bothers me sometimes is that when you accelerate, the car takes a long time to shift gears, and sometimes it's incomprehensible. So regarding fuel consumption, just to give you an idea, vehicle info, energy info. Yesterday I was mostly in battery saving mode. Over 162 kilometers, I averaged 4.9 liters, mainly using the combustion engine. In the city, I use the electric motor in traffic. 4.9 liters seems very reasonable to me. And if you use the electric motor all the time, you'll be at 0 liters per 100, and that's really nice. If you have the possibility to recharge at home or at work, don't hesitate, it's really very comfortable to use. In full electric mode, you can drive up to 135 km/h, which is enough for all situations. What you should also know is that, of course, at 130 km/h on the highway, it will be more complicated to preserve the battery. So out of the 65 kilometers announced, you'll actually get around 40 and a little less if it's winter. And if you have 30 kilometers to do per day, it won't be a problem. You can recharge your vehicle every night at home and leave in the morning with the vehicle warmed up, and it will be ideal for going to work. So we have the choice of modes on the buttons here. Pressing the electric vehicle button instantly switches it to electric mode. It's nice to have a shortcut instead of searching through menus for dynamic, sport, etc. You press the electric vehicle button, it instantly switches back to electric mode. Or you can choose your mode again, for example, MySense. And I switch back to energy saving to be able to keep electricity for when I arrive at my destination. The gauge is also very accurate. If it says you have 10 kilometers left, by driving efficiently, I usually drive pretty calmly most of the time. The 10 kilometers will be accurate. And also when you have to overtake, if you accelerate and the car sees that you need extra power, you can go ahead. It shifts down. And it will also send extra power thanks to the electric motor, which will help you overtake a bit more easily. So now I'm in full electric mode. We're at 110 kilometers per hour. At 110 kilometers per hour, there's quite a bit of wind noise around the cabin. You can hear it. You can't hear the engine noise at all precisely because we're in electric mode, and that's a good thing. However, if I switch back to my sense mode, the small engine, it's okay. There's a slight little noise inside the cabin, but you barely hear it, at least at 110 kilometers per hour. What also bothers me is that we really don't have a tachometer in the car. So at no point will we know how many revolutions per minute we're at. That bothers me a little bit. I'm not sure if it's possible now, or if a future update will allow it. At 110, it's comfortable. Let's try 130 kilometers per hour, switching back to electric mode. Accelerating back to 130 in electric mode takes some time. So, you see, in full electric mode, it's a little bit difficult. Above 120, it's a little bit uphill, so we're at 130. At 130, there's quite a bit of wind noise, but what's great is that you can't hear the engine at all. And if I get back to it, a combustion engine. It's slightly present in the cabin, but still acceptable. And every time we brake, we're going to regenerate electricity, and that's a good thing. Really, like I told you, anticipation is the key word. With this kind of vehicle, we'll see on a different road, so at 70 how it goes. A bit about curve handling. So today, it's not necessarily the best thing. It's raining. During my entire test, it just kept raining. So I'm on a small, tight roundabout. There's a lot of understeer. And then, when accelerating again. So, as long as we're not only on electric, we get a pretty strong acceleration. The single engine, it accelerates pretty well. I made a 0 to 100 video that you can find on the channel. So with the electric mode and the full power mode. So here we have a road with quite a few little bumps. Hop. As I told you before, the car remains comfortable. To accelerate again, yeah, it's really not a sporty car. It's not made to go fast. The hybrid, like I was saying, is really made for driving calmly. We'll also have the energy flows that we can find here, or that we can access at this spot when we click on it, with the vehicle displayed in large. With the recent capacity in the batteries, the engine, with flows like this, you'll get little lines. Who is powering the engine? So is it electricity or is it gasoline that will actually drive the wheels? It's nice to have this, or else we just have a basic setup with a battery, motor, and wheels. With the little arrows that appear on the dashboard. After this full test, who is this hybrid capture for? Essentially, people who drive frequently in the city and rely on electric mode will find it most important. I was able to see over 500 kilometers averaging 5 liters per 100, which is really very reasonable, especially when using the battery saving mode. And then in the city, really, by recharging all the time. And I saw that it recharged quite easily too, when we were driving in e-save mode. So that's a good thing. Also, I noticed that the advertised range was really the range that we used. The dashboard is highly reliable. Basically, if you use this car to go to work every day in electric mode, it will be really great if you have, for example, 15 kilometers in the morning and 15 kilometers in the evening. Or a little more in the city. If you only drive in the city, it will be ideal. And on top of that, the electric mode is really very comfortable. Basically, it's a very good vehicle. You sit comfortably inside. In any case, these seats really hold you well. The driving position is excellent, with fully adjustable steering for height and depth. The lever is conveniently placed under your hand. The vehicle covers long distances, and at 130 on the highway, it can get a bit noisy. I think this vehicle will mainly be used on national roads, local roads, and in the city. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. It's great for me, and subscribe. There will be many more reviews on the channel. The aim is to cover as many types of vehicles as possible, from electric cars to very sporty cars. You can find all of that on the channel. If you have any questions about this vehicle, please don't hesitate to ask them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer you. I'll see you soon on the channel. Bye.